Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's we're going to be having a comparison between the Tesla Model S Plaid and the Porsche Taycan Turbo S. Before getting into this video though, a huge shout out link to the Southtown Imports here in Utah for giving me some time with both of these cars. Both of these are still available for sale, so if you're interested, I'll include a link to their inventory in the description down below. If you have any questions, need any help, just ask for Nick. And then on a side note, if you want to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below. Let's get into it. Let's start things off by going over the EV stats. So the Tesla Model S Plaid has 3 electric motors. The Porsche Taycan Turbo S has 2 electric motors. Now, when it comes to battery capacity, Tesla Model S Plaid has a 100 kilowatt hour battery pack, whereas the Porsche Taycan Turbo S has a 93.4 kilowatt hour battery pack. The Taycan Turbo S gets 222 miles of range on a charge, whereas the Plaid gets 396 miles of range on a charge. Now, the Taycan has a whopping 750 horsepower, but that is nothing compared to the Plaid's 1,020 horsepower. Now, before we dive further into this review, I do want to mention, if you want to see more videos just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post content every single day. Now, I know that this video is going to be most interesting during the driving portion, so that's going to be most of the video, but I quickly want to talk about some things on the cars. Now, when it comes to styling, I think that they both look cool in their own right. I will say I do prefer the Porsche styling to the Tesla, but let me know which front end you guys like more. And by the way, both of them have frunks. They're both pretty decently sized. Now, something that I find fascinating is the tire and wheel setup. So with the Porsche, we have a tire and wheel setup in the front of 265, 35, 21, and the Tesla has the exact same setup. But in the rear, the Tesla is 295, 30, 21, whereas the Porsche is 305, 30, 21, so slightly bigger tires in the rear. But anyways, look at the difference with the brakes. So this has real brakes, is what I'm going to call it, whereas with the Plaid, it's not like they're horrible, but like look how much smaller the rotor is, the caliper, and so yeah, I'm sure stopping power in real time when we drive them is going to be much better with the Porsche. Now, something else that I do want to mention is the cargo space with both the cars. So the Taycan is pretty decent. It's just a regular trunk. The Tesla, on the other hand, is absolutely enormous, and it's a hatch, which I find absolutely hilarious because if we close this, and then we pop over here and close the Taycan, look at the rear style. The Tesla looks more like a traditional sedan, whereas the Taycan looks more like it would be a hatchback, but it's the opposite. That's the hatchback, that's the sedan technically. Weird, right? And then I suppose while we're talking about practicality, this is the Porsche, as you can see. Rear legroom is not all that great back there. The seats do look fantastic though, I will say that. And if we pop over here to the Tesla, which is cool, the pop-out door handles, the door panel itself doesn't look nearly as cool, but the space in the back is actually usable. Like you could very comfortably fit people back there. And then I just want to give you guys a quick look at just some of the material use here on the Taycan before we take both of them out, especially the seats and everything. I will say the Taycan definitely wins when it comes to material use, fit and finish, and all of that. Like look how nice that interior looks. It's just fantastic. And then you can see with the Tesla, I mean, it's not the worst, but like this seriously looks like cheap, you know, like $50,000 economy car in terms of the interior set, like layout, material use. It's just not all that nice, especially when you compare it to the Taycan. Now, I understand that wasn't the best walk around on the planet, but I am on a time crunch, and I also feel like more people are going to be interested in the driving differences with these versus the interiors, and I'll use some of the tech during the driving. Anyways, when it comes to pricing, that thing was over $200,000 brand new, whereas this thing was closer to like $150-ish thousand brand new. So yeah, there is a pretty big price difference between them. Let's take them out, drive them, and figure out which one's best. So let's talk about visibility here on the Taycan. Here's your visibility of the hood. Both the mirrors, dual blind spot monitoring, and throughout the rest of the rear. And I quit. I literally quit today. I just did that instead of the shifter's in a weird place, okay? You know what? I guess I'm kind of having a little bit of a bad day. So here's the deal. First off, you guys can see the camera system here on the Taycan is really useful. And some other stuff, you have this like screen here at the bottom. Now the thing that I want to mention with this screen is, I wouldn't say that it's distracting per se, but it's also like you have to look down to do the controls on this screen. So like you can imagine while you're driving, you know, I don't know, I feel like it's gonna kind of get in the way a little bit. This camera system really coming in clutch because this lot here is tight. They got a lot of cars here. You know, a dealership has a good inventory when they literally are having to, I'm gonna stop here, park cars on the front lawn because they're running out of space. I will say though, the camera, it kind of makes things tighter than it actually is in real life a little bit. Okay, now pulling forward here, you guys can see with the front camera that pops on, which is nice. I will say there's a lot of screen action here in the Taycan, and it can kind of be a little bit overwhelming. There's also the passenger screen that just says Taycan on it. If I actually pop it into park for a second here, then you guys can see the passenger screen will pop on. Let's actually pop it over to home, so then we can do the cockpit view. Look at that, that's pretty fun. But then that's so if you're in drive, you can't use the that's so pointless. Let me know if I'm missing something, but that seems kind of silly and pointless to me. But you know, actually getting out into the world, we're gonna make sure we got the vehicle tab pulled up here, so then we can change stuff like the drive mode, which will be the important thing to do. I will say there's a lot of stocks here with the Taycan too. So right now we're just in normal mode. I'm actually gonna need to pull down the steering wheel a little bit here. There we go. At least it's automatic, so that makes it easy. Ride quality is very, very smooth. Like luxury car level of smooth. Now I don't feel, oh yeah, recuperation's completely off. So now we're actually getting some regen. Man, there's so much customization on this. I think there's a little bit too much in my opinion. Like I feel like getting into this car, I'd have to adjust like 50 things just before I set off. So not so sure about that part of the Taycan. But I will say it drives really well. I like the seat comfort so far. I like the feeling of the steering. The regen's honestly not all that aggressive. Yeah, it's not like I wouldn't even call it a one pedal drive per se. I do like that I can change the drive mode on the steering wheel too though. That's fun. That's definitely a fun part. We got to turn on the electric sound. That's another cool part of the Taycan. Sounds like a spaceship. If I remember right, you only get the electric sound on like the higher up packages with the Taycan, because I think I remember the first Taycan I reviewed didn't have anything cool like that. Now we're actually going to pop it into the Sport Plus setting. Steering's very sharp. Ooh, that was just like partial in the Sport Plus setting. Yeah, sounds like a spaceship. Oh man, well, the price I pay to get you guys a cool highway acceleration, you're freaking welcome. Okay, so we're gonna kind of take it easy here for the initial acceleration so we can let that person get out of the way. Okay. Oh, you can feel this. So this has a 2-speed transmission, and you can totally feel the transmission kick in there with the acceleration. That's so crazy. That's quick. Now something I do need to mention is we've got 85 miles of range, so we're less than 50% charged, so we're probably not getting the full power. That's the one downside about EVs that I absolutely despise, is like you have to have almost 100% charge just to get all of the power. And it's like if you have a gas powered car and you have like no gas, you're still gonna get all horsepower, whatever it has. But boy, oh boy, is that still fast. That is still wickedly fast, honestly. The one thing that I do want to mention though that I can tell so far with the Taycan is the handling. And actually, yeah, like going around that little corner there, it's just like the steering feels super precise. And I kind of went around that corner earlier, like the handling just feels really good with this. Obviously, like most electric cars, it drives pretty flat, but it just it feels like a sports car. It feels like this was built out to be like an electric sports car. And obviously it's a sedan, but that's kind of the feel that I get with the Taycan. More than, well, I shouldn't say more than anything else. It does feel like a very nice luxury vehicle at the same time. And even this is the firmer, I just noticed the Sport Plus suspension. So this is the firmer suspension setting, and going over that bump there, it still was not like uncomfortable by any means. Man, this thing is such a monster. I mean, that was just partial throttle. I like the sound of it. So I guess to sum things up here with the Taycan driving, and this Taycan in general, I think this car looks beautiful. I think it handles amazingly well. It's quick. Even with, you know, a somewhat depleted battery, it still feels very quick. But the biggest thing is, this is like, if electric cars drove like this, like if every electric car drove like this, I'd be more excited about electric cars. But the problem is you have to spend, you know, $200,000+ original MSRP to get an electric car that drives as well as this drives. So yeah, that's I guess that's the world we live in right now. Maybe this kind of performance and fun will be more affordable in the future. Okay, we'll talk about visibility here on the Tesla before we set off. Here's visibility over the hood, both the mirrors, and throughout the rest of the rear. And I guess we gotta swipe that way. Oh man, I forgot how touchy the Tesla is. So the Taycan, obviously, since it didn't have it didn't feel like it was a one pedal drive. It wasn't as like aggressive. Do you hear this? This is a Tesla thing. When you do any of the Teslas, it seems like full lock, or at least the Model S's I've noticed. Maybe it's just the Plaids, I don't know. The wheels just like chirp on the ground. It's super annoying. Taycan didn't do that. I don't know why the Teslas do that, honestly. Now, I will say, as much crap as I give Tesla, this UI interface is easier to use than the Taycans. First off, having one screen versus like a bunch, right? This is way better, because like this just shows me my speed and then like my charge and everything. This one has 88%, by the way, which I accidentally did in the turn signal. Look at that. Friggin' turn signal on the steering wheel. Accidentally pressing it. I do like the camera that pops up. But yeah, overall, I will say the Tesla's infotainment system, a little bit more user-friendly. Now this is like creaking at the top, whereas there wasn't in the Taycan. And I've noticed that with Teslas. Again, the build quality just isn't there with Tesla. It seems like they're a good technology company, but they're not a good car company. Like, they just don't know how to build cars. Jeez, this thing's on a whole nother level. Wow. Let's see what everything's set at. So, oh, we're set at Plaid mode. Let's go to chill. So, I'll go to chill mode for now. Steering is at sport. But yeah, I mean, like, everything's easy to use. It makes sense. Like, Tesla has done a really good job with the UI interface, because like, look at this. Like, I can adjust all the stuff there. It makes sense. With a Porsche, like having it like just like stuck recessed into the dash, where it kind of like feels like I don't know, like I kept touching it with my hand at the top and at the bottom, and then having the screen down below for like climate stuff. It's a little bit too much. This, I feel like it's nice in my like visual like point of view as I'm driving, so I feel like safer using this compared to what's in the Taycan. But I will say, this isn't nearly as nicely integrated into the dash. Like, this doesn't flow as much. So yeah, it's kind of mixed. It's like, I like the interior more on the Taycan because the material use and because the style, but I like the interior more here because of like how it all makes sense. Everything makes sense more. I will say, I hate it when they have the glove boxes where you have to do something in the infotainment system to open up the glove box. So annoying. Yeah, the one pedal drive is very aggressive. That is for sure. I do prefer that in electric cars, though, one pedal drive, to having it where it's not like that. Now we're just gonna go straight to Plaid mode because, you know, why not? Why not give me a horrible headache? Because that's all Plaid mode does. Yeah, the turn signal is so weird. It's just, I mean, I'm sure you get used to it after a while, but I mean, first it's like if you get used to a completely different steering wheel. I've seen a lot of people swapping out their Plaid steering wheels because of how they don't like this, but I've also seen people swap in the Plaid steering wheel to like Model 3s, so it's like, what the heck, people? Oh my gosh. Yeah, this thing, when it comes to acceleration, it's a whole nother level, but what I will say is, this doesn't feel nearly as refined. Like, the handling isn't nearly as good. The suspension comfort's way worse as well. Like, you're conceding a lot with this to get the crazy acceleration. Now, don't worry, I won't make you guys wait through this whole line, but I do want to kind of talk about this more a little bit. Like, this whole thing with the swiping for the gear selection. I will say, when I first used it, I was really not fond because it's like just different. But now that I've used it a few times, because I've reviewed so many Plaids, you get used to it. But yeah, I just like how everything's. So right now we're at, okay, medium. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the suspension, no matter what you put it in, it seems like with the Tesla, it's just not comfortable. Okay, we'll have to mention, I am not looking forward to this. I absolutely hate accelerating in a Tesla Model S Plaid because it makes me so sick. So I'm gonna give some space because this thing, it gets up to speed at a rate that is just so ridiculous. It shouldn't be legal, but it is somehow. Ah! I mean, it hurts. Like, I purposefully did not eat lunch before doing this comparison because I knew that, like, if I did, but I can still, like, I can feel, like, the reflux. Maybe a little bit too much information, but this thing's just too fast. Like, it hurts. But the problem is, you don't have the braking or the steering or the body control to support the acceleration. This really is a one-trick pony, and I think that's why so many people are trading these in. Like, I've noticed that, like, it seemed like there was this fad where a bunch of people bought Plaids, and now the fad is, like, everyone's trading in their Plaids. They're all like, yep, we don't want it anymore. And I understand it because, you know, as good as this car is, it's really only good at one thing. So summing things up with this, oh my gosh, that was so much stiffer than the Taycan, like, just uncomfortably stiff. Summing things up, the Taycan drives better than the Model S Plaid in every conceivable way, except acceleration. This is way faster. And so it's kind of mixed. It's like the Taycan's a better car, but this has better technology. This has more range. It, again, accelerates faster. The user interface is better. You've got Tesla supercharging network. And so, you know, I can't really pick a winner. I feel like I'm not gonna get in trouble, but I'm probably gonna get a lot of hate from EV people on both sides. But I feel like you can't win with an EV in today's world. Like, you can't have a really solid performance EV that just does everything well. Like, this gives you the range and the charging network and the acceleration, but it doesn't give you the handling and the comfort and the nice interior. You get all of that in the Taycan, but then you lose the charging network, you lose the range. And so, and it's way more expensive. So I feel like it's just a lose-lose for EV buyers right now. As technology improves, you know, things will obviously change. They're still both crazy cars. I mean, the acceleration that both of them provide is ridiculous. And, you know, overall, like, I mean, you compare this to, like, other modern cars, and, like, they both drive well. It's just, for the money that these cost, it's kind of disappointing, in my opinion, the stuff that you don't get, right? Because, I mean, I could understand if the Model S Plaid provided what it provides at like $70,000, it's like, holy crap. But when it's well over $100,000, and when that Taycan's over $200,000, it's just a different story. Let me know which one you guys would choose, and, you know, let me know your thoughts overall on both of these. And I guess I'll leave you with one more little partial. Gotta let off instantly because we'll go past the speed limit right away. That's all. See ya.